The Boy Behind the Door is a new Shudder original, and it is from the directors and writers of The Djinn. And I think that's important to bring up here because I reviewed that movie not too long ago. And it primarily features a child actor front and center carrying the film. And in that film, he was a mute character, so he really had a hard job carrying the film, not being able to speak. But I think he did a pretty damn good job, and I really commended the kid for his performance. You don't usually get great performances out of children, and I thought his performance was damn solid. But the film lacked in stuff going on. They went for the less is more approach, and I feel like in that case, a little more would be more. And I find the same to be said of this film. So, The Boy Behind the Door is very bare bones, okay? These are two kids. One of them I should say both of them get kidnapped. And then one of them gets taken away from the other. And then the one who's left behind goes in search for his friend to free him from his confines and his imprisonment, and is trapped in this house trying to get his friend and himself to safety. That's really all you need to know. Much like The Djinn, this film is primarily children. So these directors definitely like working with kids. And like The Djinn, they got an incredible performance out of both of these kids. I mean, better than The Djinn. These kids are fantastic. Now that I think about it, is either one of these kids the kid from The Djinn? I don't even remember what the kid from The Djinn looks like now in my head. Maybe one of them is. I'll have to Google that after, but let me know in the comments if he is. But the main kid here that's looking for his friend throughout the film is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I will give the film that. The performances from the children, which is the greater part of the film, so definitely amplifies the film for sure. And I did like the movie. But I did find the film to be lacking, going for that less is more approach. I do wish that they went for a little more is more approach. One thing I definitely feel like this film could have benefited from is while at the beginning we do get a sense of their friendship, and it's done well and it's believable. I think the kids are fantastic, so anything that they attempt, I feel like they nail. But I would have liked to see more interaction and friendship between these kids before they're taken, right? So the reason that It Chapter 1 and Stranger Things works as far as kid actors and kid characters go in thrilling horror type settings is because we get a good amount of time. I mean, look at the opening scene of Stranger Things, Season 1, Episode 1, where all four kids are down in the basement, they're playing Dungeons and Dragons together, and we get a great sense of who Mike is and who all of these characters are. We know them by the 5-10 minute mark, whatever it is, when, Dusty and them run up the stairs. We have a very good idea of who these characters are, what their personalities are like, who they are, and like established into this world and the friendships, like, oh, this is the nerdy one, and oh, this is the tough one, and oh, this is whatever. We kind of get that idea. And with this one, we just don't spend almost any time with the kids in their real life to establish who they are, to get that likability factor and that connection factor up. They're kids, so we're kind of immediately drawn to wanting to protect them. They do set up this whole, undying, unbreakable friendship kind of vow between each other, like, we're friends to the end, we never leave each other kind of thing. And that works, sure. But I would have liked to have seen just 5 minutes, just a short amount of time of just them bullshitting, going back and forth, talking about school, talking about girls, talking about, sports, talking about whatever the fuck they're into. Getting a really good bonding time between them before they're thrust into this impossible situation, which would just amplify the tension because you have a very strong connection to these kids. That I feel is lacking here. While we do get a strong connection between them in the opening and throughout, because they're doing absolutely anything to save one another, which is very endearing, and I totally am on board with that, and I loved that. I just feel like that little extra, just, interaction between them would have amplified the film. So I do feel like that's missing there. And then the villain of the film, the main villain of the film. I feel like their performance was fine. They're good. Don't get me wrong. I do find that they're good. I don't know. Okay, another thing that this film has going on for it that a lot of films don't is that these are children, right? So when characters that are adults do things like throw weapons away, run away without finishing the killer off, that kind of stuff, you're like, come on. But when they're children like this, and these guys are young, it's buyable to me. It's like kids just would, get the attacker off of them and run. That's what a kid would do. So I don't ever hold them accountable for bad decision making. They're children, so they kind of get a pass on that stuff. So I don't really have any critiques in that way. I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more interaction. Yet again, here we go. But I would have liked a little more interaction between the kids and the main antagonist of the film. But that one's fine. That one's serviceable. I'm okay with that. In the end, it just felt like a little more needed to be going on in the movie. But it is a thrilling time with great performances from kids. It's a worthwhile watch, I do think. I definitely think this is something you should watch. I just feel like this it falls short of what could have been amazing, because these kids killed it. And with that, I feel like they could have made this incredible. Absolutely incredible. Just add a few more things into it. Just a few more things. I'm not going to get into details, that's spoiler territory, but just a few extra things. And that opening with our kids, and a little more interaction between the antagonists and the two, little male protagonists here. That would have amplified it to fantastic. But at the end of the film, I'm somewhere in that 3.5 out of 5 range, which isn't bad. It's a good movie. It's worth your watch. But just right there, man. It could have just a couple little things, boom, would have been a 4.5 or a 5. You never know. But it's cool. Let me know if you watch it. Adios.